President Biden is hoping businesses will become the next major influence in getting people vaccinated against COVID. In a visit to Illinois on Thursday, the president said employers have the power to, quote, change the arc of the pandemic. He called on all businesses to require vaccines. Meantime, a lower dose of Pfizer's vaccine could soon be available for young children. CBS News Chief White House correspondent Nancy Cordes has all the details.
Tonight, 28 million children are one step closer to potentially life-saving protection. Pfizer and BioNTech have asked the FDA to authorize their vaccine for use in children ages 5 to 11 at 1/3 the adult dosage.
You want to maximize the protection with the fewest amount of side effects.
Dr. Grace Lee leads a CDC advisory board. She's a pediatrician at Stanford.
Like many other children's hospitals, we have had children who have died of COVID. I think that while the vast majority of children can tolerate the infection and do well, we also know that sometimes we're not able to predict well who will suffer severe consequences.
Kids make up 22% of the population, but 27% of newly reported COVID cases. Immunizing them could help prevent scenes like this. Danville, Pennsylvania schools forced to close this week because quarantine rates were too high.
I was nervous, I should say, because he's under the high-risk zone with asthma.
A heartbreaking new study in the journal Pediatrics finds that COVID caused more than 140,000 U.S. children to lose a parent or grandparent caregiver over the past 15 months. That's 1 in every 515 children. Black and Hispanic children were even more likely to lose a caretaker.
700,000 people dead in the United States.
In Chicago today, President Biden argued new corporate vaccine mandates are making a difference by pushing the number of eligible but unvaccinated Americans down from 95 million in late July to 67 million today.
My message is require your employees to get vaccinated. With vaccinations, we're going to beat this pandemic finally. Without them, we face endless months of chaos in our hospitals, damage to our economy, and anxiety in our schools.
And Nancy Cordes joins me now from the White House. Nancy, the president said that the Labor Department will soon issue his rule requiring companies with more than 100 employees to be vaccinated. Do we know now how this will be enforced?
Yes, it's going to be an OSHA rule, which means that it'll be enforced by the Department of Labor. Obviously, it is very difficult for the federal government to ensure that every single company of 100 employees or more is actually complying with the rule. So it's a bit of catch as catch can. But what the administration is hoping that the fines that are associated with noncompliance will push many businesses to get on board. And frankly, there are anecdotally many industries that have said privately that they would really like to have these rules because they just want some political cover for introducing requirements that they have been wanting to introduce anyway, having to do with vaccination mandates. So what the rule essentially says for companies of 100 people or more is you've either got to make sure that your employees are vaccinated or they have to submit to regular testing. And that applies, by the way, to about 100 million working Americans. So with one new rule, you capture a large part of the workforce.
That's huge coverage. And as you reported, Nancy, the White House says that these vaccine requirements are lowering the number of unvaccinated Americans. But a new report also shows that mandates are having an impact on our economy. So what more can you tell us about that?
So what this report essentially said was that in late July, when the president first announced that he was going to be requiring federal employees to either get vaccinated or submit to regular testing, which he later amended to sort of take away the testing option, and when he began pushing companies to do the same thing, you saw this big decrease from about 95 million eligible Americans who had not been vaccinated to about 67 million today. So a precipitous drop. You can't say that all of that was due to vaccine mandates around the country because, we had a big surge of Delta-related COVID cases over the summer that prompted people to get vaccinated out of fear of getting the virus. But certainly we know that in industries that have required people to get vaccinated, you've seen this big surge from, let's say, 60-70% of the workforce being vaccinated up to 95%. So what this report says that the White House issued is that when you issue these vaccine mandates, not only do they help get more people vaccinated, but they also help the economy because it brings more people back into the workforce. There are Americans who are worried about going back into an unsafe workforce who might be more willing to do so if they know that everyone around them has been vaccinated as well.
And speaking of our nation's finances, Nancy, I have to ask you about Senate leaders reaching a deal to temporarily raise the debt ceiling. The White House doesn't seem too enthusiastic about this agreement. What more can you tell us?
Right. So what they would have loved to see happen was for Republicans to capitulate and say, OK, we are either going to participate with Democrats in raising the debt ceiling or we will just sort of not block Democrats from raising the debt ceiling. That's not exactly what happened, although the Republican leader Mitch McConnell did backtrack somewhat. He said he would allow Democrats to raise the debt ceiling temporarily by a set amount that will last about 8 weeks or so, giving Democrats time to figure out a way to more permanently raise the debt ceiling between now and December. So Democrats think that that is sort of a foolish half measure. Yes, you guarantee the full faith and credit of the United States for now, but it means that they're going to have to just go back to the drawing board and do this again. But they'll take it because what it means is that they get this off the table for now and they can focus on what they really want to get done, which is cementing support from the last two Democrats that they need in order to pass a big environmental social spending bill that is at the center, the heart of the president's agenda. Once they get that out of the way, they can then go back to figuring out how they're going to raise the debt ceiling before December.
And we know that the president met with Senator Joe Manchin on that very subject today. All right, Nancy, thank you.
You're welcome.